My guest today is Jason Young. Jason, how you doing?
Good. Thanks for talking to me.
What's your job?
Oh, what's my job? That's a complicated question.
Your day job?
No, so I work for Microsoft,
Me
and
too.
I have basically 3 partners that I work with, and they're all big manufacturing partners. So I help them create awesome applications mostly on top of Azure, for doing manufacturing type things. So it's IoT, it's Azure, it's all the cool things that Microsoft has to offer, pretty much in anything across the board.
All right, cool. You're here at that conference with me. As you can tell, there's actually people walking in front of the camera.
Yeah,
here, and that's
all
fine.
right. That's all right.
But you're doing a talk tomorrow, right?
Wednesday.
Wednesday you're doing a talk.
Yep.
Today's Monday. And what's the topic?
So it's IoT, not just a buzzword. So it is around some general trends going on in IoT. But I think what's kind of interesting about it, there's a lot of people that will demo things, like they'll have a Raspberry Pi and light sensors and things like that. And they will, they'll show something moving. And I know that there's some presentations here like that, so I don't want to put them down. But I was thinking, how can I make this more real and useful? Because I think, to me, IoT is about making our lives better and improving them.
I agree.
So I had written some code in a Hackfest a few weeks ago that actually uses my Microsoft Band to send accelerometer data over to my phone.
Okay.
And then to send that up via REST API up to Azure. And then what I did was I built an Office 365 add-in that goes into, basically you install it into PowerPoint, and it will, you get a little web frame inside of PowerPoint.
Okay.
That talks to SignalR to the Azure application. I know this is kind of complicated now.
Okay.
But basically what happens is the signals from the gestures of the accelerometer on my band end up making their way into PowerPoint, and I can control the PowerPoint. So I don't want to hit the microphones or anything, but basically what I'm able to do is I'm able to give my presentation, instead of holding a clicker or pushing the key, I can actually just wave in the air, and that will actually advance the slide, and I can wave the other way.
I was waiting to find out why PowerPoint is involved.
Yeah, I was sort of working up to kind of the punchline there, but so that's what I'm going to do. I'm actually going to start out by controlling my PowerPoint presentation with gestures using a full IoT solution.
Oh, okay. So you're hitting a REST API. Are you storing this to a database somewhere?
Nope, no
okay,
database.
So it's not like Azure
super
mobile
simple.
service. You're writing a REST API using what, web apps?
Yeah, exactly. So it's in an Azure website, and there's basically 30 lines of code in there. And again, it's just to receive that REST API call, and then to send something over to that SignalR hub, so that it can notify that web page and basically notify PowerPoint to go to the next slide. And people ask me well, doesn't going up to Azure, going up to the cloud and back introduce too much lag?
Is there some latency?
And there isn't. It's not
Really?
perceptible. It's really not perceptible. SignalR is 10 milliseconds, and then a REST call, let's say another 10.
Okay.
Even if we double those, 40 milliseconds.
So even on a slow network, it's still...
Yeah, this is my first time trying it for real.
Okay.
But I have given demonstrations. I gave a demonstration to about 200 people. It was my team whenever I first developed it, and it went off without a hitch. So this is really the big test. But fortunately, I'm not counting on it working for the presentation. I can still do the rest of the presentation without it.
Okay. Are you going to be using this actually as you have the slides as your presentation?
So
I
have I have a full talk as well. So the using the band is really how I advance through the slides of the things that I'm talking about. But like I said, it's also a demonstration of what I see as sort of a real world IoT example.
Totally
and
agree.
It's really just scratching the surface.
Right.
Because in my mind, it's really about when these devices can start to talk together especially once we can start using some standards so that things can know how to talk to other things, then it just opens up all these possibilities that you might not even think of initially. And so that's one of the themes of the show, or of the podcast. But I talk about a lot of things that are going on in the industry. I work with manufacturing partners, so a lot of my scenarios are talking about manufacturing and things like that.
We'll come back to the podcast in a second. But what was the biggest challenge running this application?
The biggest challenge of writing it, there were a whole bunch of unknowns. So whenever I start something like this, like in a Hackfest, I always start with how do I solve the things that I just don't know how to do yet. I wasn't.
So when you say unknowns, you mean unknowns to you?
Yeah. So I wasn't even sure if it was possible. I wasn't sure how accurate the accelerometer was, because there's an accelerometer in here, gyroscope, microphone, UV sensor. There's all of that, right? I wasn't sure if I was going to be able to get data at a fast enough rate, with enough resolution, with enough accuracy. But this thing's actually incredibly accurate. In fact, I was playing with the gyroscope the other day, and if you watch the values in real time, I actually emailed the team because I had it sitting there and it was giving me back a value of 1 on one of the axis. And you would turn it and give me 1. I'm like, okay, why is the accelerometer reading this when it's not accelerating? I emailed the team and they're like, because of gravity. I hadn't taken into account, gravity. So, so before I started the thing, there were so many unknowns.
Right.
So I just had to start looking at the data that was coming off of it, the raw data, and I would put it into an Excel spreadsheet. I was charting it.
Yeah.
And then
say, what does this mean? What does
yeah,
a 1 mean?
and then
for
can I
example?
also, as you're sitting there sort of waving your hands around, because that's everybody's concern, as you're waving your hands around, are you going to have a whole bunch of false positives? And so the biggest thing was proving that could be done. And then the other one was the Office 365 team. I actually had them there while I was developing this in this Hackfest. And they said that they didn't think that the presentation, the web frame basically could control the presentation while it was in full screen mode. Luckily, they were wrong, and then they sort of explained it afterward. But I wasn't even sure if we could do that, because there's an existing phone app that you can control PowerPoint with, but it uses a COM add-in. So I'm not using a COM add-in, I'm just using apps. So once I get this thing in the store, you'll literally just be able to, with your band, you can go into the store of choice. So if it's iOS, Android, Windows Phone, you can just go download the appropriate app. Then you go into PowerPoint and you go into the store within there and you download the right app, and you're pretty much up and running.
Very cool.
That's all
So
it'll
let
take.
me get into this. The band communicates with your phone. It's your
Yep.
phone that's calling the REST service.
Yeah, the phone talks out to the internet.
I
Yep.
see.
So it's nice because there might not be Wi-Fi, right? So like here, I don't have to count on the Wi-Fi necessarily working for that
As long
aspect
as you have
of
a
it.
cell signal.
Yeah, that could be talking through that. And then even the PowerPoint side of things, it's just using Signal R, so it's really low bandwidth. So what's nice about that is if I have to tether my tablet, my Surface Pro 3, to my phone and use that internet, it won't be an issue. And again, that extra latency over the cellular, it really isn't going to be that big of a deal.
That is awesome.
Yeah.
And this is available as an open source project?
Everything is on GitHub.
GitHub,
Pretty much,
okay.
yeah, almost everything I develop.
What's your GitHub user account?
So it's YTechie, so it's YTECHIE. So if you
Okay.
go to github.com/YTechie, you'll see
Okay,
that
and what's
out
your
there.
password? I'm just kidding.
It's I love David.
It is not. Before we go, tell me about your show.
Oh, so yeah, we run the MS Dev Show, so you can find that at msdevshow.com. And what we do, it's a weekly show, and it's really not affiliated with Microsoft, but we talk about any kind of topic that a Microsoft, quote-unquote Microsoft developer would be interested in. So if you do anything with any Microsoft technologies, you should check out the show, because we do talk about things like Node.js and open APIs and things like that, because guess what? Microsoft developers, developers using Microsoft technologies are going to run into those things now.
Absolutely.
So it's, pretty much anything like that. And it's a weekly show. It's about an hour long. And yeah, we just like doing it, and people
like
happen
listening to
people happen to like listening. So we're gonna keep doing it.
Jason, thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you. I just heard about Technology and Friends, and I'm gonna check it out right away.